Heinrich Himmler, head of Hitler's Office for the Security of the Homeland, otherwise known as the Gestapo or SS, said, "The best political weapon is the weapon of terror. Cruelty commands respect. Men may hate us, but we don't ask for their love, only for their fear." We must always keep our message as simplistic as possible. Hitler put it well when he said, "All propaganda has to be popular and has to accommodate itself to the comprehension of the least intelligent of those whom it seeks to reach." Benito Mussolini stated, "It is humiliating to remain with our hands folded while others write history. It matters little who wins. To make a people great, it is necessary to send them into battle, even if you have to kick them in the pants. And that is what I intend to do."
Long before his rise to power, Hitler understood that the public could be led to love the big lie and despise the truth. In his 1925 autobiography Mein Kampf, Hitler wrote, "But it remained the Jews, with their unqualified capacity for falsehood, and their fighting comrades, the Marxists, to fasten responsibility for the downfall of Germany in the World War precisely to the man who alone had shown superhuman will and energy in his effort to prevent the catastrophe which he had foreseen, and to save the nation from that hour of complete overthrow and shame. By placing responsibility for the loss of the World War on the shoulders of Ludendorff, they took away the weapon of moral right from the only adversary dangerous enough to be likely to succeed in bringing the betrayers of the fatherland to justice. All this is inspired by the principle, which is quite true in itself, that in the big lie there is always a certain force of credibility, because the broad masses of a nation are always more easily corrupted in the deeper strata of their emotional nature than consciously or voluntarily, and thus, in the primitive recesses of their minds, they more readily fall victim to the big lies than to the small lies, since they themselves often tell small lies in little matters, but would be ashamed to resort to large-scale falsehoods. It would never come into their minds to fabricate colossal untruths, and they would not believe that others could have the arrogance to distort the truth so infamously. Even though the facts which prove this to be so may be brought clearly to their minds, they will still doubt and waver, and will continue to think that there must be some other explanation. For the grossly impertinent lie always leaves traces behind, even after it has been nailed down, a fact which is known to all expert liars in this world, and to all who conspire together in the art of lying. These people know only too well how to use falsehood for the most dastardly of purposes." End quote. For example, if I declare that Osama bin Laden and other members of Al-Qaeda conspired and sent 19 hijackers with box cutters to defeat the most sophisticated defense system in history, and that Hani Hanjour, who could barely fly a Cessna, flew in a sounding trajectory to crash Flight 77 into the Pentagon, the most well-protected building on Earth, and that other hijackers, by flying planes into 2 of the World Trade Centers, caused 3 of them to collapse straight down totally at virtually free-fall speeds, you will know that I am telling the truth, because no one could possibly get away with telling such a big lie.
We neoconservatives believe that upon the establishment of a one-world government of the corporations, by the corporations, and for the corporations, that worldwide salvation will surely follow. Benito Mussolini put it well when he said, "Fascism should more appropriately be called corporatism, because it is a merger of state and corporate power." He went on to say that fascism is a religion. The 20th century will be known in history as the century of fascism. In a speech responding to critics of the invasion of Austria, Hitler said, "Certain foreign newspapers have said that we fell on Austria with brutal methods. I can only say that even in death they cannot stop lying. I have, in the course of my political struggles, won much love from my people, but when I crossed the former frontier into Austria, there met me such a stream of love as I have never experienced before. Not as tyrants have we come, but as liberators." Hermann Goering, Hitler's second-in-command, while being tried for war crimes at Nuremberg, said, "Naturally the common people don't want war, neither in Russia, nor in England, nor in America, nor in Germany. That is understood. After all, it is the leaders of the countries who determine the policies, and it is always a simple matter to drag the people along, whether it is a democracy, a fascist dictatorship, a parliament, or a communist dictatorship, voice or no voice. The people can always be brought to do the bidding of the leaders. That is easy. All you have to do is tell them they are being attacked and denounce the pacifists for their lack of patriotism and exposing the country to danger. It works the same in every country. Joseph Goebbels, Hitler's propaganda minister, was such a genius. He said, "If you tell a lie big enough and keep repeating it, people will eventually come to believe it. The lie can be maintained only for such time as the state can shield the people from the political, economic, and/or military consequences of the lie. It thus becomes vitally important for the state to use all of its powers to repress dissent. For the truth is the mortal enemy of the lie, and thus, by extension, the truth is the greatest enemy of the state." Benito Mussolini said the keystone of the fascist doctrine is its conception of the state, for its essence, its functions, and its aims. For fascism, the state is absolute, individuals and groups are relative.
Here's a good quote from Hitler. "How fortunate for governments that the people they administer don't think." In 1933, Adolf Hitler proclaimed that the national government will maintain and defend the foundations on which the power of our nation rests. It will offer strong protection to Christianity as the very basis of our collective morality. Today, Christians stand at the head of our country. We want to fill our culture with the Christian spirit. We want to burn out all recent immoral developments in literature, in the theater, and in the press. In short, we want to burn out the poison of immorality that has entered into our whole life and culture as a result of liberal excess during recent years. Allow me to read a selection from my article published in the November-December 1998 issue of Foreign Affairs magazine entitled Catastrophic Terrorism, subtitled Imagining the Transformative Event. An act of catastrophic terrorism that killed thousands or tens of thousands of people and/or disrupted the necessities of life for hundreds of thousands or even millions. A successful attack with weapons of mass destruction could certainly take thousands or tens of thousands of lives. If the device that exploded in 1993 under the World Trade Centers had been nuclear or had effectively dispersed a deadly pathogen, the resulting horror and chaos would have exceeded our abilities to describe it. Such an act of catastrophic terrorism would be a watershed event in American history. It could involve a loss of life and property unprecedented in peacetime and undermine America's fundamental sense of security, as did the Soviet bomb test in 1949. Like Pearl Harbor, this event would divide past and future into before and after. The United States might respond with draconian measures, scaling back civil liberties, allowing wider surveillance of civilians, detention of suspects, and the use of deadly force. More violence would follow, either as other terrorists seek to imitate the great success, or as the United States strikes out at those considered responsible.
Third, this bill meets our commitment to America's armed forces by preparing them to meet the threats of tomorrow. Our enemies are innovative and resourceful, and so are we. They never stop thinking about new ways to harm our country and our people, and neither do we. We must never stop thinking about how best to defend our country. We must always be forward-thinking.